The best of money matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, there's no experience on Earth quite like a safari. You've seen the African wilderness in films, on television, in books. From the iconic wildlife to the awe-inspiring landscapes, it's a life-changing adventure. But an African safari with A2A is about much more than just the wildlife and scenery, because our next guest founded a Singapore-based wildlife travel company that offers a curated luxury experience that blends quality, comfort, and authenticity in every detail. Known for its private luxury safari and nature expeditions, A2A Safaris is a perfect fit for well-heeled Asians seeking wildlife encounters, adventures, and thrill in holidays. But what makes A2A the right business in the highly competitive market and ever-growing luxury travel industry? Well, joining us today to share more is Victor Dizon, who is the co-founder of A2A Safaris.
Hi, Hongbin. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for joining us. Victor, what inspired you to found A2A Safaris back in 2002? I mean, as a former investment banker, what made you to pivot from finance to the travel business?
Well, yes, travel has always in my blood. It's really one of my sort of passions, and I've been fortunate to have traveled to many different parts of the world. And when I first went to Africa in the mid-90s, I just literally fell in love with the place and started traveling there many times as a tourist, just because it had a strong pull on me. And I guess on my travels, I noticed there were hardly any Asian travelers going on safaris, and I was wondering why. And I quickly realized it was because Asian travelers had, the wrong impression about Africa and was preventing them from going there, And then when, I took a sabbatical from my investment banking job, I realized I wanted to do something different, and that strong passion for travel, and then in particular of Africa, was really what, pushed me to sort of start A2A Safaris.
Oh, that's very interesting. I mean, A2A Safaris is known for its, private luxury safari and nature expeditions. But why did you think that there was a gap in the market for bespoke safaris and, safaris and luxury travel experiences for Asian clients?
Back then in the early 2000s, if you look at the landscape for Asian travel, a lot of travel companies were just doing, package tours, set holidays, not really giving you, a lot of advice and a lot of options, customized options for clients. And then in terms of Africa in particular, there was really no one offering anything like what we offered in the market. So really there was a gap. And in the early years, a lot of it was educational, really, because people didn't really know or understand what a luxury safari was all about. But we felt that if people just got the chance to experience it, that it would be something that would really resonate and, that our clients in Asia would love. And I think here we are 23 years later. I think that's been borne out.
Okay. Well, then what makes A2A Safaris, luxury or bespoke? What sets you apart from other high-end safari operators?
I think what really sets us apart is most of the luxury safari operators are, in, I'd say, Europe and to a certain extent the United States. So I think the difference for us is being Asian-based and focusing on Asian clients. To do a luxury safari well, you need to know the product or the destination really well, which we have over 23 years. We travel there frequently. We have people on the ground there, and we invest a lot in training and development of our team. But I think what sets us apart really is the knowledge of our clients here in Asia, the nuances of the luxury Asian traveler, which, maybe someone based in Johannesburg or San Francisco or Paris may not be too familiar with. And I think that's what allows us that intimate knowledge of the destinations in Africa, and knowing the nuances of the high-end Asian travelers, what really allows us to create a truly distinct and bespoke experience for our clients.
Well, A2A was the first tour operator to specialize in luxury African safaris for Asian travelers. But why specifically Africa as a starting point? What do you think makes it a compelling destination for discerning travelers from Asia?
Well, we started with Africa, as I said, in some sense more by accident because of just fell in love with Africa, and I saw a yawning gap in the market at that point in time. And I guess what makes it a compelling destination is I even look at myself as an example for someone who's well-traveled and been to many places or most places in the world. Africa for many is sort of the last continent, the final frontier. And what's prevented many Asian travelers from going there, I would say, is really there's partly fear and partly misunderstanding about what the destination is like, what the experience is like. But once, when people realize, they've been to Europe so many times, been to the United States, all over Asia, the experience you have in Africa is truly different. And we have countless clients who've been, have traveled to, more than 50 countries, traveled 5 times a year. And when they go to Africa for the first time, we get comments back like, Victor, that was the best trip ever. And that, that really makes it all worthwhile for us when you hear it from someone who's well-traveled with that.
Well, Victor, where else does A2A Safaris operate other than Africa? We understand you've also recently expanded to Asia.
Yes. So in early, I guess the first, call it 10 plus years of the company, we focused really just on Africa. I mean, our ethos was we only do few things, but we make sure we do it very well. And in about 2014, thereabouts, we decided to expand our destination footprint to encompass Latin America and Antarctica. And the reason we selected those places really was we felt they were able to deliver a similar experience to what one had in Africa, albeit in a different setting, and also a place where we as a company could provide a lot of value to our clients. And that was really our sort of first story, if you have it outside Africa. And then just last year, another 10 years or so later, we decided to expand into select destinations in Asia. So we started with India and Bhutan, again, for similar reasons because of their sort of wildlife and adventure industry, but the ability to do it in a very sort of, luxurious and private setting.
Well, Victor, could you help us share one or two memorable client stories that have, reaffirmed your belief in the mission of A2A Safaris and the value it brings to travelers?
I guess one story I can think about is we've had one client not too long ago, actually maybe a year or two ago, who about 20 years ago we arranged a safari for his family. That time it was a mom and dad and then their 2 or 3 younger kids. Again, they came back and saying that was very well traveled family and said that was the best trip in their life. And I would say about 18 to 20 years later, that son, who was primary school when he went on that safari, came back to us because he was getting married.
Oh, wow.
And he said he wanted to take his wife on a honeymoon back to the same places where he had first gone on safari. And because it was such a magical experience that he just wanted his wife to have that same experience that he had. So for me, that was a very sort of fulfilling. In the intervening period, that family has referred, numerous other clients to us. Not for anything, but because they felt that it was such a moving experience for them, even as a family. They referred relatives and many relatives and friends of theirs to us. That's an example of how I think Africa has that sort of, magic pull on people and really impacts you in a significant way.
But I mean, for a child to remember a trip from their youth to come back as an adult and then go there or seek to go there again, I mean, it must have been such a magical experience. Well, Victor, A2A Safaris has seen impressive growth in recent years with a 142% increase in business over the past decade. What factors do you think have contributed to this success, and what role does your focus on luxury play in this growth?
I think we're also fortunate in some extent that, travel as an industry has just, from outbound travel from Asia, has just really exploded over the last 10 years. And in particular, as you said, the high-end segment, because I think people are looking for special and unique experiences after, they've been all over the place, been there, done that, looking for something special, And I think the other thing we do is because we're a bespoke company, most people, again, don't have too many experiences with bespoke travel companies as ourselves. And once they've experience it, they realize, wow, we bring a lot of value to them, and then hence, they become repeat clients of ours, and again, their ability to refer clients to us. So that's really what I think has really driven our growth.
Well, the demand for luxury safaris in Asia is booming, especially with well-heeled Asians seeking more, adventurous holidays. So what do you think has driven the shift in the travel preferences of the affluent Asian market, and how do you see this trend shifting in the next few years?
I think the other thing that contributed to that was this, in a sort of ironic way, COVID has also helped our business now, because I guess, and I think back to, my early days with our company, we kind of, we approach a certain, affluent client who, can afford our product. But then you say, okay, this is the price, what we were talking about, it costs X, right? And then he sort of thinks to himself, well, for that price, I could buy a new watch, or my wife I can get her a new handbag. And I'm like, okay, that's all well good, then fine. Then he opts not to go, maybe because he buys another watch or two and another handbag for his wife. But, you fast forward that now, 15, 20 years later, that same guy probably owns 50 watches, and his wife owns 100 handbags. And he's thinking to himself, okay, how much more do I need? And then you have incidents like COVID that come up, right? And then makes you really think about, what's important in life. And I think a lot of our clients are realizing it's really these experiences, experience with loved ones, with your families that really you can't put a price on, and even gives you a different sense of satisfaction and fulfillment than owning your 51st watch. And I think I've really seen that shift in people's mindset. So again, that we've sort of benefited from that.
Right. Well, looking ahead to the future as well, Victor, are there any exciting developments or new offerings that A2A Safaris plans to introduce?
Constantly on the lookout as well for new and interesting destinations. I mean, obviously the world is a big place now, but we're not there to really offer the entire world. So, I mean, the challenge for us sometimes is we identify a really interesting area which we think our clients would like, but let's say the infrastructure and lodging and logistics are not up to sort of a level that we would be, we know our clients would be comfortable with. So there's that constant thing, but I think what in the short term you will probably see a few more, specialized destinations in Asia or Central Asia that will be, adding on in the next sort of 12 to 18 months as we sort of just expand our sort of Asian footprint. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Victor, for joining me today.
Okay, you're most welcome. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. That was Victor Dizon, who is the co-founder of A2A Safaris. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.